Hello and blessings. Today I want to showcase for you two different kriyas, two different yogic cleansing exercises. The first is called Jala Neti and the second is Sutra Neti. Now for Jala Neti, what you'll need is a neti pot. Oh, this should look familiar, kind of like a tea kettle, only you put it in your nose. And with this neti pot, you'll need also some salt. Ideally sea salt. I like to use Himalayan salt. You can also find some purpose-built salts, things that come already prepared for your nose, maybe have some essential oils or something fancy mixed in there. But really all that you need is sea salt, and again, Himalayan salt is my personal preference. Then for Sutra Neti, what you'll need is a rubber catheter, okay? Now, in the olden days, in the ancient days, yogic days, they would use a piece of cloth dipped in wax. Now, I've tried that before. It's not so ideal. It's very difficult. Now, this rubber catheter, again, we're working with our nose today, so I think you can imagine what's going to happen with this catheter. And given the fact that it is rubber, it makes your life a lot easier. So ideally, you find a nice, thin rubber catheter. I like to start first with Jala Neti, so let's begin. Okay, so I have a personal sequence and order in which I like to perform these activities. I start first with 1/2 neti pot of Jala Neti going in each nostril. Then I do my sutra, then I finish again with another half pot in each nostril. That's kind of like, for me, I like to brush my teeth, floss my teeth, and then brush my teeth again. This is kind of the same thing, the same thought pattern. But basically what I've done is in my neti pot, I've added some warm-ish, hot-ish water with a fair amount of Himalayan sea salt. And you want to basically mix that up until it has the taste of tears. It should be roughly the saltiness of your tears. If you do too little salt or too much salt, it's going to burn a little bit in your nostrils, and there's nothing really wrong with that. Your eyes might go red or something like this. You're not going to die. It just means that you need to perfect your mixture. Okay. Now, one thing that the salt does is, when you understand a little bit about osmosis, and I'm not going to get into it right now, but basically it'll prevent water when the saline solution is appropriate on either sides of the membranes in your nose. It'll prevent water from seeping into your system. So this will make water run in and out of your nostril. Okay, so start first with the right nostril. We work first with what's called Jala Neti. So as I mentioned before, these practices are affecting us on a very subtle level also, not just physical cleansing going on, physical purification, but also subtle purification. So working with emotions and these kinds of things. So you start first with the right. Just insert it into your nostril and then simply tilt your head to the side. You'll start to feel the water dripping out. Usually you wouldn't want to talk, but I've been doing this for a while. So I do a 1/2 neti pot here, and then I switch. And this is just my personal preference. I like to do 1/2 neti pot in each nostril before the catheter as a way of kind of lubricating the system, so to speak. Left nostril, same thing. Magnificent. Okay, so next is our Sutra Neti. Now what I've done is I've filled my neti pot back up with a nice hot water solution, and I'm letting my sutra soak in that hot water just to give it some time to get a little bit malleable, a little bit warmed up, so to speak. That way when it goes in your nose, it won't feel so much like just a stick that you're shoving into your nostril. Okay, so let's say it's been sitting in there for a long time. A strange side note, so I realized that I've been preparing for this for a long time. When I was a kid, I had this party trick of sticking my whole pinky into my nose on both sides. So, I don't know, I was doing kind of a form of Sutra Neti when I was really young. Anyhow, what we want to do once our sutra is nice and warm is we take the tip and we just wrap the tip around our finger like that. We hold it for a few moments. That's going to give it a little bit of a bend so that it kind of follows the curvature of the nasal passage. We want it to reach to the back of the throat. Okay?
So we have a nice little curve, and we start sticking it in through the right nostril. Now move it very slowly. If you feel any blockages, it's normal to have some blockage. Don't push it, just take it back out. Maybe sometimes twisting the sutra will help to get past any blockages. Okay, now I'm going to stop talking at some point. It's not ideal. But once we feel that the sutra is at the back of the throat, it shouldn't go into the throat, but we should feel it tickling like the back of our throat, kind of near that uvula-like thing. Then we reach in, little hook on our finger, we grab the sutra and we pull it out. Okay, so let's see. Okay. Oh, have it. And out. Then you just rinse it off. Bound to be some fantastic things on the sutra at this point. And you switch sides. So for me, for whatever reason, I've always had a little bit more difficulty with my left nostril. That's the feminine side. Maybe I have some issues with my feminine side, who knows, don't know. But there's always been a little bit of difficulty actually getting it in. So I take it really slow on this side. I'm not going to talk. I'm probably going to fast forward through this part of the video anyhow. Left side. Okay, so great success. Now, one thing to mention is that I personally like to take the Sutra Neti out through the mouth, which means that this fatter part at the end will move through the nasal passages. Now, for some people, that's really uncomfortable. For some people, they prefer to take it out the skinny side, the same way that they put it in. That's going to be personal preference. For me, I feel like I get a nicer cleaning effect when this big fat part also goes through my nose. Kind of like a taper, it pulls everything else out. So after your Sutra Neti, then for me, I like to finish again with 1/2 pot in each nostril of the Jala Neti. Okay, so again, I've prepared my mixture just to make sure everything's dissolved. I always like to give mine a little bit of a shake, maybe a stir. And if you're not sure about your mixture yet, just give it a taste. Yep, tastes like sadness, tastes like tears. So that's what we want. And then you can again go right nostril, left nostril. Okay, so here we go. Yep, that'll happen. That'll happen. Now, pretty much, if you're afraid of boogers in any way, this is not the thing for you. It's designed to bring all of that out, okay? So, it's bound to happen. Now, when you finish, you can give your nose a gentle blow. Now, sometimes there's going to be a little bit of water still inside of your sinuses, and the way that we get that out is by doing kind of like a head banging forward fold. Okay, so what I mean by that is that we just want to fold forward, let our head hang, and we do a couple of these, and the water will start to drip out. Hopefully you can see that. So you do it as many times as you need to until the water is not dripping. Okay, I think I'm good. If you have any water stuck in there, it's not such a big issue. It'll come out eventually anyhow. Usually it'll start to drip down into your throat. It's like a runny boogie, no real harm. Okay, so you now know how to practice these two kriyas, these two cleansing exercises. Now, I should mention that the primary aim, the main reason why we want to take to these practices is to enhance our capacity for pranayama. So, when you start to get more serious about your yoga practice, you start to include things like anuloma viloma, different types of breathing exercises. And these two kriyas are obviously designed to make respiration and therefore pranayama
much, much easier. Now they have some secondary benefits that include handling minor illnesses such as flu, cold, these types of things. Also any issues in the sinuses. If you have a sinus infection, Jala Neti is one thing that can be very, very beneficial. Okay, so I like to include these practices, Jala Neti, the water, the neti pot, every day is ideal. Eventually, it doesn't take so much time. You know, I can do that whole practice in under a minute. And then Sutra Neti, where we use the catheter, this can irritate the sinuses a little bit, especially when we're not used to it. So you don't want to do that more than, let's say, twice per week. Okay, twice per week would be the maximum. So set aside maybe Sunday and Wednesday, something like that to stick a catheter in your nose. I hope this video has been somewhat informative. I hope you've enjoyed these demonstrations. Leave any comments, any questions in the section below. Please subscribe. Om Namah Shivaya. Namaste.